Rob Maxwell Jones. Thank you for coming on.
No problem.
Yeah, how are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very, very well, thank you. Thank you for having me in your home.
It's okay.
Lovely place. So always start off at the beginning. Go back to your childhood. So tell us a little bit about that place.
Yeah, sure. My childhood was, I think it was pretty normal. I lived in Derby growing up my whole life, and my parents got divorced when I was 7. So I lived with my mum mainly, and then I saw my dad every other weekend and on holidays and things, and quite a lot in between. School was pretty standard. Like, I always think that my childhood wasn't particularly unusual. I was bullied quite a bit at school. I was quite quiet, and I wasn't really like a boy. I wasn't really in sports or anything like that. I used to get bullied, called gay, quite a lot. I am gay, but at the time, obviously, it wasn't something that I don't know. I suppose I didn't really understand, and it wasn't being used accurately. It was being used, as an insult, and so I suppose that's always kind of impacted me. I think that's impacted me a bit, sort of continuing moving forward. But
it was a bit more taboo as well, wasn't it? Sort of years ago, to be gay and things like that.
Yeah, it's more open now.
Yeah,
especially in schools, especially with social media. There's more sort of information about it going around. But I was at school before like smartphones and mobile phones probably for a bit, so it wasn't really that sort of same thing. And I think now you can still get bullied for it, but it's just like a different. I got bullied in terms of name calling and things like that. I think you can get bullied a lot worse probably.
Yeah,
because it can be on the internet.
Yeah. So have you always sort of known you was gay?
Yeah, but I didn't know. I knew, but I didn't really know what it was.
Yeah.
I'm really lucky with my family. Like, they've always been open. My godfather's gay couple, so that wasn't an issue. But at the time, I didn't know that. I didn't know how lucky I was at the time, and I think I just kept things to myself. I didn't really talk about it because I felt kind of quite shameful. I felt shame because of it. I had friends and I had people who I spent time with. I wasn't always lonely or anything like that, but it was just one of those things that was just a kind of, I suppose I think about it now because I can worry when I talk to somebody that they're going to think I'm gay, and then I have to remind myself that I am gay, and it's okay. And that, I think that's probably the biggest thing that came out of having that influence growing up, that sort of negative influence of kind of realize, sort of thinking that who I am or what I am is fundamentally wrong.
Yeah, because there used to be like a sort of bit of a feeling, or I don't know, people would sort of say, if you're gay, you should come out and say it. But it sort of, me as a straight male, I didn't come downstairs one day and say to my parents or my mom, I'll just let you know I'm straight.
Yeah.
So why should you if you're gay? It doesn't make you a good person or a bad person, does it?
Just makes you, you're just a person. It's interesting. Like, and there's a lot more out there now, a lot more information, a lot more freedom and things, but there's still a lot of persecution. But then, there's some bits of gay culture that I don't agree with. Like, I think some bits are going too far, but that's just my opinion. And I think,
how do you mean? Sorry,
I just think sometimes when we want, I think it happens a lot when people strive to have equality, but actually what they're wanting isn't equality. They want, it almost comes off as superiority.
Yes,
and it's not just.
It's
not just in. I'm not just saying that with LGBT or anything like that. I just mean there's a lot of things where people, want, there'll be different groups maybe want to be heard or want to have equality, but I think sometimes it gets mixed up. But that's the way it is. But I think growing up, because I think one thing it's taught me is that if I want to be accepted by others, I have to be able to accept other people, even if they have views and things. Even if somebody's homophobic, I have to accept that they are homophobic, and I can't, as long as they're not, violent towards people or horrible, like really, really horrible. If they just don't agree with homosexuality, I have to accept that in a way, because if
it's their view,
and if like we want to be seen and heard and accepted, people as in gay people. I think I've just learned that I have to sort of take that on board, and I don't know whether it's that's the right way to be, or whether I just kind of I've heard it for so long that I just don't really think about it. I always remember it. I was on my undergrad. I was sat in a lecture, and there was a guy in front of me, and I heard him say, "Everybody who's gay and everybody who has AIDS should be put on an island together so that they can just wipe themselves out."
And quite a mean and dark thing to say, isn't it?
And I just there was a friend next to me, and they sort of went like full on like anger and 0 to like 100, and they're straight, and I had to sort of like put my hand. I was like, don't say anything, because it was kind of like, well, what am I supposed to say? What's it gonna do?
Yeah, I suppose. And he just might just be another idiot with a stupid idea.
It's just it was hard to hear, but at the same time it wasn't. I just know how to. I just don't. I kind of I've learned in a way to kind of just block certain things.
Yeah, I kind of see what you mean now. Whereas I've kind of thought similar things about similar stuff. Whereas I'm a mixed race man, and kind of I had a little bit of racism and stuff growing up, and I've also thought, well, if you say something racist to me, it's not about me. It's more. It says more about you. So if I have to say something about against gays to you, for example, or that man in the lecture, it says more about him than it does you. Does that make sense? Because you're gay, because I'm this, or does it make us bad people or good people?
No,
it just makes us who we are.
Yeah, it doesn't. Being gay doesn't make me a good person. Doesn't make me a bad person.
Yeah,
I'm just a person. It's my behavior and everything else. It's like
absolutely. Whereas when people sort of dislike people because of being gay, because of being black, white, Asian, tall, short, fat, skinny, or whatever it is, kind of sort of thing, it's also quite pathetic in my eyes. Whereas what is this person individually done to you?
Yeah,
for you to dislike them, and if nothing happened, then why should you be judging people when you don't know them?
Yeah.
When you don't know them, quite sad, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's I think it's something I think about a lot more, probably because of being in recovery. There's certain like phrases like, keeping your side of the street clean, and kind of don't take another person's inventory, because it's like and I have to admit, I still do it. Like I will still, make a judgment about something. You can't stop.
We all do. It's human nature, isn't it?
Yeah, you make a judgment, but I have to kind of watch myself when it gets too far, or whether it's necessary.
Yeah.
And I think I'm learning more now. Like if I'm beginning to judge, make a real judgment about somebody, like when it's not constructive, it's not needed, then I have to kind of think, well, what's bothering me about them, or what's bothering me in general, to think, well, why am I that bothered about this person? If I don't like this person, or I don't like what they're doing, why am I giving them that energy?
Yeah, absolutely. I think things like that, it's because people sort of say, I don't judge, I don't do this, but I think we all do to a degree.
We can't help it.
It's just whether it's kind of internal or external.
So
whereas if I was to judge you again, say about your sexuality, if I was to sit here thinking, I can have certain thoughts, but if I keep it to myself because if it's going to be negative, that's kind of not necessarily okay. But if I keep it to myself, I'm hurting nobody. Whereas if I start externalizing it and sort of saying, well, Rob, this is bad because you're gay or because of, certain things happen in your life, then this isn't good. Then there's no positive there, and there's no need for it, really, is there? Unless you're inviting my opinion through conversation or something.
Yeah.
And I just sort of think people sometimes feel the right to say negative things or give their opinions when it's not always necessary or required. I just think, people can be quite, that's the word, maybe selfish or sort of think too much of themselves.
I think that's why you see a lot of it on social media.
Yeah. Very true. Did you have any role models growing up?
I was thinking about that when you mentioned it. I don't think I really had like a role model in the sense of this is the person who I want to kind of emulate. I don't really know, because I felt like I didn't really fit. I never felt like I fit in anywhere. I don't think I could ever really. There was never really anybody that I would then be able to connect to in a way, because the world that I was living in was very sort of different to how I was and how I felt. And I think I'd like, I think I looked up to, like probably looked up to my parents and my older sister in terms of, wanting to be able to be in like a secure place and those sorts of things, and having, jobs and things like that. But I'm not sure if I ever had somebody that I really like
aspired to be like.
I think, again, because it's such a narrow, I think before the world that we lived in before, social media and all that sort of stuff, it was quite a narrow kind of sphere. Whereas there's more, you find out so much more about different people now so quickly. Which is good and bad. But I don't think I had like a particular one person that I thought this is who I want to be like in particular.
That's fair enough, because I think I was a bit similar. Whereas I'd probably say one of my uncles I kind of looked up to a little bit because he was a bit cool and all this. But once I got past a certain age, it was a case of I'm just going to be me, whatever that is. I'm just going to be me. And sort of make my own mistakes and learn my own lessons and do my own goods kind of thing. So and I think it's quite good like that. But what would you say, sort of, in your life has been your biggest adversity?
I don't know. There's two things that I think like that have gone really wrong, or had like a really negative impact. The main one would be alcohol. I think I'm alcoholic and 12 years sober.
You're 12 years sober?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
And that started off when I was sort of probably early 20s, late teens. When I was younger, I kind of was probably the kid at school that went to a party and always drank too much and things like that. But then I had like a whole year between sixth form and university where I didn't really drink at all, and I was just enjoying life and things like that. University, I went and I kind of thought it was going to be a big thing, a big change. Kind of be able to be me, be who I wanted to be in. But the problem is that like you can change the geography, but you still take you with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was drinking a lot in first year, but I was in Newcastle, I was in law. It was all kind of like not expected, but it wasn't unusual. To be, in Newcastle, going out every night, all that sort of stuff.
Which is known to be quite a party town as well, isn't it?
Yeah, just a bit. We could go out, pretty much 7 nights a week. But then in the Christmas of my first year, I came back early. I came back to uni early, and I went out with a friend. It was January time. I went out with a friend, just us to the gay scene in Newcastle. Went to this gay club, and I don't really I remember bits of the evening, but I remember just going out, and then I was chatting to a guy, and then he seemed nice, and that's where then it sort of starts getting a bit blurry. But fundamentally what happened was he put something in my drink, and then he drove me back to my halls, and then he raped me. And
so you say he or they?
It was one guy. My friend, I think I've lost him, and I don't really know what happened. And because of the drug, I didn't, and the amount of alcohol, I didn't really know what happened for a long time. I woke up, nobody was there. I just didn't really know what's happening. I was meeting a friend for lunch, and I just kind of focused on that. And then throughout the day, there was little, I just didn't feel great, but I just thought it was a monster hangover kind of thing. And then, slowly over time, things started to appear, and he basically threatened to be violent towards me if I didn't do what he wanted. And I think I just I don't really know what happened, but yeah, so over a period of time, these memories just started coming back, and it was quite hard as well, because I was doing criminal law in my first year, and there were points when we're having lectures about the law around it and things like that, and there was just a lot going on, but I never told anybody because I didn't really know what to say. And I didn't, and I kind of thought I'd been out, I'd been drinking, kind of all these things, I don't know who the person is. I couldn't, what I was supposed to say. And instead, I kind of just buried my head in the sand and just went out more and just drank more and more. And I can't say it was he didn't make me alcoholic. I think I was born alcoholic, but that person contributed probably to it kicking in further, or quicker. And so that kind of happened, and I just, in a way, I think I just became more reckless, because I was just like, well, I felt like the worst had happened. What else is going to happen, kind of thing.
So you kind of become a bit kind of carefree, shall we say?
And if I am more reckless, then it can't happen again, because I'm not, almost like I'm not saying no to anything. I'm just, it was just
taking control back a little bit.
I thought I was, but I think I was just losing. I was slowly losing control, and then it happened again in the second year with a different person.
Okay, wow.
But it didn't happen. But I felt like, well, it was almost like, again, because of my drinking, because of the way I was thinking, I was just like, well, it was almost like it's like I should have expected it. I wasn't. I kind of just thought I always thought I was to blame. I was the one at fault, because I just didn't. I was beginning to not to care. I didn't really care what was happening to me, and I realized that now. At the time, I thought I was, fine, and I thought everything was under control. No, sorry, it was. It was second year, but actually, things were slowly just dissolving, I suppose, inside. And on the outside, I was, I was studying law, or I was, doing this, going out, having fun, all this sort of stuff. I probably looked like I was having a great time, but inside I was more alone than I was surrounded by people all the time, going out in bars and all this sort of stuff. But I think looking back, I never felt more alone. So I think on the outside, I was looking like everything was okay, but slowly things dissolved. We're just dissolving on the inside. And I think, my final exams, you know, I was an absolute mess, and just kind of got through, and I got a job working in prisons, supporting people who were due to be released.
Yeah.
And I was absolute mess. It was just, looking back, it was absolute carnage for me. I was drinking every night, and you know, and then there was a point where I think I had like a month where I was drinking solidly. I took a month off, you know, and saying that I was unwell, and you know, I was still up in Newcastle, and you know, sort of people had moved away quite a lot, so you know, that was a low point. And then I came back home, and that's where my drinking kind of then became more, it was noticed more, because there were people, you know, I was staying with my mum, and then staying with my dad.
Yeah.
And then, but I never said anything really about why I was doing it, what was going on, or anything like that. And yeah, just slowly my drinking got worse and worse and worse, and I couldn't hold down jobs. I was nobody wanted me in their home, and I was seeing a guy off and on for about 3 or 4 years, and he was, you know, I was awful to him, and it got, you know, I was offered rehab, but I said no. I was offered it a couple of times actually, but I didn't, you know, I said no. My grandma said to me if she'd give me £1,000 if I didn't drink for a year, and I knew, I was like, I can't do it. It's like, it's not possible. And I found out that my paternal granddad had issues with alcohol, and that's how he passed away. My grandma had kicked him out because of it, and he died partly because of that. And you know, there was all this sort of stuff that was happening, and I eventually, once when I was drunk and in front of my mum and my dad, and I was just really tired and emotional, and just everything came out. Like, I told them all about like being raped, and then there was a time then I was attacked by some guys on the way home from a gay bar and stuff, and you know, that sort of came out, like sort of homophobic kind of attack, and like I wasn't seriously injured or anything, but just all these things just kind of spilled out that I just didn't realize I was holding on to. And then it was all out in the open, and then they tried to get me different types of counseling and all these sorts of things, but nothing really happened. And then I was diagnosed with PTSD because of the rapes, and offered CBT, but I just wanted to drink, and it got to a point when they wanted me to basically like go in a hostel or something, because they didn't want me in the house. I could put them through a lot. Like, one Christmas day I was found by my mum and my sister at my dad's house. He was spending Christmas in France. I was found at his house, and they just had to call an ambulance. I was rushed into A&E on Christmas Day, and then I was put on a liver ward. I wasn't even 30. I spent Christmas week on a liver ward. You know,
due to the damage from all the alcohol.
Yeah, because I drank so much that I don't think I was semi-conscious when they found me.
What was your choice of drink?
It was wine. It wasn't red wine. To be honest, at the end, anything that had alcohol in it, I would have drunk. But yeah, wine. I remember one morning, I think it must have been like 7:30, maybe, because that's what time it's on. I was watching Frasier on Channel 4 with a bottle of red wine. I was sat on my bed with a bottle of red wine, swigging it from the bottle. Every time I took a swig, I had to run to the bathroom to be sick, because my body was just rejecting it. And the only reason I stopped drinking then for like an hour, just so that I could then carry on drinking. And not once did I think, this is making me continually sick. It's 7:30 in the morning and being sick from red wine. I just thought, I need to
find a way to make it happen.
Make it happen. yeah, so my mum, once actually that Christmas day, my mum said to me, you're gonna die if you keep doing this. If you keep drinking like this, you're gonna die. And I just said to her, like, I don't care. I've lost. It wasn't like I wanted to die. I had attempted to take my life a couple of times, but no kind of proper attempt. But when I get into recovery, they call it alcoholism. Is like suicide by installments. Like you're just slowly doing it, and it got to a point where I didn't care. I didn't really see. I was in pain. I could see people around me were in pain because of what I was doing.
Yeah.
I had no thoughts of the future. All I could think about was drink, and it wasn't like I wanted to actively do anything. I just wanted to, I would pass out. I would just hope that I passed out and just never regain consciousness.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't see what benefit, there was no benefit to me being in the world. There was no benefit to me, there was, it would just make things so much better for everybody else.
Yeah.
That's a sad thing to think, but it's the reality of it, because you're just so trapped in it. You can't realize. But
yeah. So would you say the excessive drinking now and then, even potentially becoming an alcoholic, was down to these sexual assaults?
I spent ages when I got into recovery trying to work out why am I an alcoholic?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of the stuff that I did, like having psychotherapy, hypnotherapy, all these kind of things, it was kind of trying to find the root cause. And what I was trying to do was find a way that I could drink normally.
Yeah.
It never occurred to me that what I needed to do was just not drink.
Yeah.
And so the reason, it came to me that the reason that I'm an alcoholic is because I'm an alcoholic, and that's the end of it.
Yeah.
I sometimes think if I'd had like the picture perfect life, if I'd got, in the same situation, picture perfect life and everything, and nothing happened, I'd still be an alcoholic, because it's
just kind of who you are. Does that make sense?
It's like part of me. So, and is it like is it a reaction to something? I don't know. There's so many different. I think there are different theories. Is it kind of nature nurture kind of thing? It is. I think alcoholism is in my family, but also, and I think people who have addiction will find that there is some of it in their family. But I wouldn't say it was like a massively strong thread. It's not like it was literally like it's not a massive thing. It's not multiple. Nobody else in my immediate family is really impacted by it. So yeah, I think the reason I'm an alcoholic is because I'm an alcoholic. And once I realized that, it freed up so much space in my head, because I was trying to find the reason why. And in a way, it wasn't really important, because what I need to do was, through recovery, I realized I just need to stop drinking like a day at a time. And I just had to, do a day at a time. And then, slowly over time, things, began to change, and days became weeks, weeks became months, months became years. And I still go to my recovery groups and things like that, because it's really important. I don't think I'll never be cured of alcoholism. I'll just be free of it or free of the main part of it, as long as I don't have a drink.
Yeah. So did you have like a moment of clarity where you sort of thought, that's it, this is enough from now on? I've got to sort of sort myself out and stop drinking? Or was it a case of a gradual sort of calm down?
It wasn't my doing at all. I hear lots of people say, I made a decision that I couldn't drink anymore. That was that. It wasn't. It was because I got told that I was sleeping in my car on my dad's drive, and I was told that basically if I could, I either go to AA or go to a hostel. Like go to the recovery meetings. And because I was like, I don't want to go to a hostel, I went, and I thought I'll give it a go. And the first time I ever felt like I wasn't on my own was in one of the meetings, because I'd hear other people talk, and it's not about how they drank or what people drank, is why they drank.
Yeah.
And it was the first time I've ever felt like I wasn't on my own.
Yeah.
And that had a real impact on me. And I can't really think back to think what was the change, what kind of got to a point where I was able just not to do it. But something did.
Yeah. Because kind of going off from what you said, would you say potentially, okay, or just a quick judgment for myself, would you think you've always been seeking to be a sort of to be a part of something, or like a sense of belonging? Whereas was alcohol like a bit of a companion for you, and then you find the groups and sort of thought, this is now sort of my belonging?
Yeah, I think I tried to. I've never really felt very confident about who I am as a person, and so because of that, I never really knew, and I think alcohol kind of made me escape from that.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just escaping from memories of what happened. It was also, I felt more confident. I was more, I don't know, and I just felt more confident and more. It sort of gave me a boost, but that then soon begins to drop.
Yeah.
And maybe it gave me that sense of belonging somewhere, or just that I felt like somebody understood me, and somebody else kind of understood me, and I still get that now. Like, I can talk about something, I can be in a meeting, talk about something, and somebody will like be nodding because they understand. And and it's not like if you're not an alcoholic you won't understand, but it's just some stuff that we think. I think it's harder for people to comprehend unless you kind of been through it. And I don't think that's just the same for like alcoholism. I think there are lots of different things. Unless you've actually been through it, you can try and understand, and you can understand to a certain extent, but you're never 100%.
Yeah, you can't exactly empathise with that, can you? So whereas my mom was an alcoholic growing up, and I kind of, let's say, I talk to people like yourselves, former addicts and stuff, I can sort of try and resonate a little bit, but then in terms of, I don't really know what it's like to have like the sweats and the shakes and the after actual battle, the sort of the real recovery. So whereas I can sort of maybe sympathise and try and empathise, but do I really know? Not really, do I?
Yeah, and I wouldn't know what it was like. I could kind of try and put myself in your situation, but I wouldn't really know. But the sweats and like your skin can feel like pins are just all over it. And you get like, I was getting spots in front of my eyes and stuff like that. Like it was like watching static on telly, and I didn't know what day it was, what time it was. I wasn't bothered about anything. There'd be points where I could barely really. I think I wouldn't eat. I wouldn't eat. If I did eat, it'd come back up. But I didn't. All that stuff, I just didn't. I didn't care. But I went in, and it's really it's obviously had a massive impact on my life, and moved things around. And now, I have a car, I have a home, I have a career, I have I'm working towards a doctorate, and doing all these different things. So it's it's really it's changed things. But I've got the support of my family, I've got the support of friends, and the meetings, and it's I think that's the thing that's really probably had the biggest impact. And I have to really keep that in mind, because if I don't have my sobriety, I don't have anything else. My sobriety has to come above everything else, because anyone and everything else. And that sounds really selfish in a way, but if I don't, then I don't have my family, I don't have my friends, I don't have my job.
This is it. And sometimes you have to be selfish in life, don't you? Because again, you need to look after yourself to be able to be who you want to be and also look after your family. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I think, if I'm right in saying, the alcoholics, so there's a saying, one is too many and 1,000 is never enough.
Yeah.
And I heard that and I thought, wow, it kind of, again, not an alcoholic, but I kind of understood it. Does that make sense? Again, growing up around alcoholics and things like that, and I thought I can understand it. Whereas again, not really empathizing, but I can see it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And what's interesting, it still impacts me, but even though I'm not drinking, like my addiction still impacts me. And recently I've started going through, I got like a sponsor and I started going through the recovery steps again, but I'm not looking directly about alcoholism, but I'm looking at like how my behavior, how I think, how I am. Because I've had like a crazy few, like a year and a half. Like my home got destroyed, and then work's been busy, work's been stressful. I was doing 2 level 7 qualifications at the same time. I was working, had private practice, trying to do, see friends and things like that. And I think my brain and everything got overloaded, and something, I was talking to a friend about it, something snapped, and I thought I'd kind of just handed everything over like we do in recovery, and just let it be, and what will be will be. But I kind of realized that now that something snapped and something broke inside me. It sounds a bit dramatic, something broke inside of me, but like something turned off, and from then on it was almost like I wasn't really feeling anything. I was just going through life, and eventually my flat got restored, but then there was other stuff happening, and then there was a period of calm, and then something else would happen. Then I was still busy doing a doctorate, doing this, doing that, and then my dad had like a blood clot on his brain, and then that's all fine now. And then my mum has had issues with cataracts, and that's been resolved now. But there were all these just different things. And instead of doing what I sort of prescribe in terms of when I deliver therapy or any kind of mental health kind of support, talking about it, letting people in and all that sort of stuff, I closed off more and more and more. And people at work, I've got friends at work, and they'd see me coming in, especially on the time when the water was still just coming into my flat. And I'd say, they say now, like, I was just progressively looking worse and worse and worse. That every day I'd be like, yeah, I'm fine. And there was nothing, nothing would come through. And I never thought anything about it. But then in the last few weeks, I started doing some work and looking at things, and I kind of realized that, something had changed, and my behaviors are still, a lot of the behaviors are the same. And what I didn't realize was that I thought I was masking and hiding everything. But there's a few of my friends who do know me well, and they, like, when I spoke to them about it, like, they had spotted it. Like, apparently I have certain tells, like if I go quiet, that means that I'm not doing well, or I have a habit of literally, apparently I have a habit of trying to help everybody else, but then never asking or accepting help myself. And I will, instead of with alcohol, I would drink more and more and more because I thought I could handle it. With what I was doing recently was, apparently I was just taking on more and more and more. So it's when I was feeling overloaded and burnt out, but instead of just stopping, I would take on more. I would make sure that I was helping everyone that I could, and I ended up having like episodes of blackouts where I was having like periods of time where I was just losing time. Not like huge huge periods of time, but I just sometimes think, well, I'm, you know,
how did I get here?
What am I doing? Kind of thing. And then I was, you know, not sleeping, and it was to look back now, it kind of was a bit weird. And I still know why I do things the same thing, but the biggest thing that happened, like, I've been saying this to like a few people, the biggest thing that happened that made me realize what was kind of the crux of the issue was that I have a friend and we go for a walk every fortnight, and he does like online coaching and things like that, and he was sort of doing like PT coaching, and I would go for a walk and a catch up, and he's like a lovely guy, so nice, like such a nice guy. I'm like really lucky to know him and have him as a friend, and yeah, he's just really nice. And every fortnight we go and I get a coffee for myself, and I get him a coffee and a pastry because he works at a gym as a PT and coach, and he would have this break. So I just thought I'd get him while we walk around the park. And he messaged me one week to say, oh, is it all right if I don't have a pastry? Because he was like, you know, it's coming up summer kind of thing. And then I was like, okay. And then I felt a bit funny. And then he messaged, said, oh, someone's just bought me a coffee. Like, don't worry about the coffee.
Oh, okay.
I said, I'm going to give you some money because you always buy the coffee. He's like, something to do with, again, about the whole like prepping for summer or whatever.
Yeah.
And then when he said that, I just felt really uncomfortable. I couldn't pinpoint what it is. And what I was doing before was just trying to block it out and just carry on. And I kind of tried to sit with it. And it took me a while, but I realized that I freaked out because I thought, what? Like, I'd gone back and I was like, do you want water? Do you want juice? It occurred to me that I felt really uncomfortable going to see him with nothing.
Yeah.
Because I thought, well, what's he going to get from this?
Yeah, he has to gain from me.
What's he going to get from walking around the park? You know, what's he, like, if he doesn't get a coffee and a pastry, I have nothing to offer. And then I was talking this through, and I spoke to him about it. He was like, okay, I got to see you. That was what I got
together. Yeah.
And I was like, and I couldn't quite compete. And so, although I've progressed so far, like, you know, I've been talking about things, and, you know, we go to therapy and stuff, it's this constant thing of, I don't have any kind of level of self-esteem. I'll never stop trying to do things and help people, because I kind of feel like if I don't help people, or if I don't do stuff for people or do whatever I can, then like, what else do I have to give? Because
in the kind of you sat talking like that and saying that, it reminds me of someone I used to work with, a great man called Phil. He was a former alcoholic and drug taker. And when we used to work together, he would always have his tobacco, smoke roll-ups, and then he'd have the bottle of what was it called? Boost, I think it was called, like the cheap Red Bull.
All right.
I said to him one day, I said, Phil, why do you always have to have these things? And he said to me, now back in my old job there, he called me D, he said, D, I'm an addict. So he said this was just a substitute for the drink and drugs kind of thing. Do you reckon that in a way you sort of getting that sort of that dopamine hit or whatever it is by helping people could be a replacement for your addiction or the alcohol?
It's interesting because one of my friends kind of mentioned that, like, you said you get so much joy from helping people, that I wonder whether it is something like that. But I think it's like it's like a feeling of imposter syndrome, low self-esteem, and maybe an addiction thing. And I hate saying that, like, I have low self-esteem, because I kind of think I suppose it's awkward. I feel awkward even though I'm talking now, but it's awkward to kind of talk about myself as if, like, I'm any different, or I don't want to feel like I'm, you know, I don't want to be seen as different or special in any kind of way, or I'm not a massive fan of compliments. I get awkward, and because I'd rather almost just not be seen in a way. Like, I'd rather just help somebody and just in a way go, because but yeah, I kind of feel like if I don't help people, if I don't provide, if I don't do something for them, then I don't get what else I have to give. Like as a person, I don't really have. I don't think I'm, like in terms of a person or. And all my friends, friends and people around me, will disagree and say you don't have to do anything for anyone. If I don't provide things,
Totally agree.
Because they just like me for me, and like that's who they, why they see me. But it's something that I'm working on, trying to work out why, I'm kind of like this, um, and it's frustrating because my job is to help people work through stuff like this, but it's so much different when you're working, trying to do it on yourself, with yourself.
Absolutely.
And so I'm kind of thinking, well, it's actually a good experience because then I'm kind of really connecting with what my clients will go through, and I understand it all. I understand it probably why it's all happening. I just can't. I can't take it on board and let it settle because, like I friends sort of say, if I help them, like, I'm great, they're grateful, or I'm so whatever, and I just kind of listen to it as if they're talking about somebody else, which is another thing. But yeah, it's interesting. Like I realized that recently that for me, we used to talk about hitting like the fuck it button and then just like going for a drink is like, the self-destruct. Somebody was talking about it in a meeting, and I realized that I'm able to do that without a substance, without alcohol.
Yeah.
And I've done it recently because I've just built up and built up and built up and built up, and I end up and I don't know whether it's a combination of being bullied, being raped, all these things like that. If anybody, like it's been interesting hearing my friends, kind of being able to spot my tells and all these kind of things. But it also makes me really uncomfortable because I think somebody once said, I really know you. I really know. They guessed something, and I said, "Oh, how did you know I was gonna?" Like, I really know you, and it freaked me out. I was like, "Don't ever." I didn't say it, obviously. I didn't say it to them, but I said, "Don't." It was like, "Don't get too close to me because I just don't want anybody, like, just don't get too close to me."
Yeah.
And I can't really work out why, whether it's to protect them, to protect me. Like, don't come to get too close to me because I'm not a nice person. I'm not a great person. Like I sometimes like feel like I'm damaged. Like I'm damaged goods, and I've been single for years. I kind of feel like I've just, again, it's like, what have I got to offer somebody? And when I say things, it's, people come back immediately. Oh no, and it's not about that. It's not about somebody else saying that. It's about me trying to
seeking it,
and trying to find out what I'm trying to. I think I'm constantly trying to get to a point where I feel like I am acceptable as a person.
Yeah. Do you know what sprung to mind for me was, again, it's a bit off topic, but also again, why my brain thinks sometimes is, we were talking about your mate when you sort of go for walks in the park, and you had to buy him a coffee, you had to buy him a pastry. So then I think in your head you had to do something tangible to give your friend or give somebody. Could you make, and this might sound really cheesy, so like little tokens, and then for example, let's say if we were to go for, me and you were to go for a walk around the park as we're friends, or you meet one of your friends, you get them a token, so you're still giving something over.
Yeah.
But it's just a token of your time.
Yeah.
A token of your love, or however you want to call it, your friendship, I don't know, some of your humour. I don't know.
Yeah. It's weird that you said that, actually. Well, not weird, actually. Well, yeah, no, it is weird because I saw a quote and I put it on my social media. Well, I heard it actually in a meeting, and it says, I don't have all the answers for my friends, but I'll always have time and love." And I think that's the most important thing. And I think, like, I will go. There are certain things that I've spotted that, I think, well, maybe that's not the best thing to do. But then there are certain things like I don't. As much as what I need to do is boundary it and kind of limit it, not limit it, but get to a point where I'm very reactive. So if somebody says they need something, I will literally go to find it to give it them. Like, and they might not even. It might be, I need to get this, and it might be that they're very capable of getting it, but I'll need to, like, because they need that, and I want to make sure that I can support them. It was like, and because I kind of feel like I have to do something. But and it's stuff like that. Like, I want to be a good person. I don't want to not get somebody a coffee or get him like a coffee, because I do like that. Like, I have one, so I'm not gonna not get him one. And he does so much for me anyway. You know, just being like a friend, that it's just nothing. I don't really think about it, but it was just a really big. It was just really interesting to be able to slow. I think because I slowed down and started listening, or started kind of really paying attention to how I was feeling. That was the thing, and it's such a weird thing to have such a big impact for somebody to be like, I'm all right for a coffee and a cake. And me being like, oh my god, like, this is like this massive revelation. But I think that's really interesting. It's really interesting. Yeah, I like the idea of like a token. There are like these little token things, but
because I just in my head, I kind of thought, so you get that satisfaction of giving something. That makes sense. Whereas it could just be a piece of paper where you put on there to me, Dowd, 2 hours time, and then I'll walk away, kind of thing. At least then you can sort of think, he's left with something today.
Yeah, and it's like, something to think about, and it's it's just also now kind of trying to say, or if somebody says no, to say, like, to just accept it. Like, when there was a point when I was like, there was all these thoughts going through my head when he was like, no coffee, no pastry. And I thought, well, fuck yeah, I'm gonna get him a coffee and pastry. I don't give a shit.
I'm gonna force him to.
I don't give a shit. And then when I was talking to him about it, he was like, oh god, he was like, I feel bad because you get me these things all the time. And he actually shoved a tenner into my pocket, which then it was literally like, not as a bit of a dramatic, like stabbing me, like, no, I can't get him anything, and then he's giving me cash. I was like, god, why you just kicked me? But it's a bit dramatic, but it was it's just really interesting. And I think, and it's like, so I now know, like, my addiction is more about my behaviors rather than what it is that I pick up to deal with it. And because I'm so reactive, my brain goes really faster. I didn't realize it went faster than other people's. I just thought this is what brains do. But when I talk to friends, they sometimes are like, okay, and I don't, and I'm not like, I'm like, I suppose it must be, that's the other thing. Like, I say, I'm not very bright, but I suppose I have to be to a certain extent because of the qualifications I have. But,
yes, of course.
But at the same time, I always feel like I'm the stupidest person in the room, no matter what the room. Like, and it's funny, it's like the same with my recovery. If I spoke to somebody who had like 2 days recovery or 3, and they were telling me something, which I know fundamentally it's just one of those things that you would think, and it's an absolute no, you think that's going to work in early recovery, but it's not. I'd be like, oh, you know, and I question myself, even though I've got 12 years, because I just don't have any kind of confidence in who I am. But it is what it is, and I have a lot of support around me. It's just trying to work through that.
Because I think when you said thinking you're the stupidest person in the room, I think if you could flip that to be a little bit positive, that's not necessarily a bad mindset, because then let's sort of say if it was in this room with 5 other people, and if you just sort of thought, rather than me being the most stupid, actually I can learn something from everybody else in here.
Yeah, I have seen quotes actually that say, you know, go into a room, or never believe it. It's like, never believe you're the smartest person in the room.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or if you believe you're the smartest person in the room, you'll actually be the dumbest.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
You close off the ability to learn. And I think mine is about, but mine's less about wanting to learn. Mine's just kind of like, I don't, you know, if I'm in work meetings and stuff like that, I just get really, like, you won't see it, but I'll be really nervous inside because, and I think, so although what I went through was, you know, with the main part of my addiction, it's almost like the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
Because I have to wonder what I would be like if I was still having everything that, you know, had all the experiences and the emotions that I feel, but didn't have that addiction and didn't have that whole drop and then be able to rebuild.
Yeah.
It's
absolutely.
almost like I would never say that you know, it was, I don't know, it's like the best of times, worst times. It was never really the best of times, but it definitely helped me in a way that I couldn't ever really explain. And I'm really grateful that I'm able to, you know, experience the program of recovery and things like that, because there's so many things that it, you know, so many phrases and quotes and stuff that I really like will take on board, like, you know, sort of, you know, stuff like everything happens for a reason, or just to kind of like, or this too shall pass. So if I'm having like a really bad day, then I'll just try and think this is going to pass, this is going to pass, and
nothing lasts forever, does it?
No, and you know, these are little things that would just get me, you know, make me think. Always keep your side of the street clean is probably something that I need to keep, and you know, restraint.
What does that mean? What does it mean to you?
It's basically like if you're in a situation, if somebody does something wrong or negative to you or anything like that, it's kind of making, like, you can't control another person's behavior, but you can control your own.
Yeah.
So don't be unduly, you know, you can protect yourself, but don't go out to attack somebody. If somebody's attacking, you know, if somebody's saying something vile or something like that, if I got like an abusive message on Instagram or on TikTok or something, just ignore it. You know, block the person, ignore it, and you know, that's it. If I then responded with nastiness or retaliatory stuff like that, I'm not keeping my side of the street clean. I'm no better than they are. So if they want to be ignorant, like, then don't, you know, and it's kind of like, do the next right thing. What's the next right thing to do? You know, and choose what's the next best thing to do, kind of thing.
Yeah, that makes sense to me, because like in my head now, I kind of think, well, I'm not perfect, so why would I pass judgment on you, kind of thing. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. So in terms of the sexual assaults and stuff, would you say, if this is even the right question, would you say you've kind of dealt with that, if you ever can, or fully deal with it? I'm not too sure.
I don't know. Like, there are some times when I'm, you know, with somebody and I'll freeze. If somebody came up behind me and, like, just, you know, sort of, it depends on how I am. Sometimes I can freeze. I think I need to work on maybe letting people in more, because I think there's two kind of months that I have that I struggle more than others. So January, I struggle because it just makes me think about it, and sometimes it's worse than others. Some days it's worse than others in terms of January, but I don't really remember the date of it. There's lots of
was it just January, was it?
Yeah, have January. I know it's kind of earlier January, so it'd probably be the first 2 weeks of January I would probably be more hesitant, but sometimes I wish that didn't happen. Sometimes I kind of think, well, that's how it's going to be. But then I also October October the 27th is my sobriety date.
Nice.
And for some reason, from the 1st of October to that date, I am so on edge. Not like really, not, I think it probably is noticeable. I always think, oh, it's not noticeable, I mask it. But I think with some friends, because, and I'm trying to get used to it now, because for the rest of the year, like I don't really ever, alcohol doesn't really cross my mind.
Yeah.
But then for like those days up to the 27th, it's like, oh my god, what? It's like this constant. What if I end up having a drink now?
That kind of anticipation.
And you know, like I'm coming up to like, you know, so when I was coming up to my 10th birthday, it was full. It was like really like, oh, I'm gonna get to 10. What if I do this? What if I do that? And I didn't. And then it like the closer it gets gets worse. But
I reckon that could be like a little bit of temptation for self-sabotage in a way.
Yeah, I think I like self-sabotage a lot. But it's almost like this. I suppose I'm really proud of it, and I get quite nervous about things I'm proud of. So my undergrad, I did law. I didn't really care. I didn't care what happened. And then I did my master's in counselling and psychotherapy, and I was so scared all the way through because it was the first time that it was something that I was interested or wanted to do, and it mattered. And if I wasn't ever very good at it, then like, oh, rubbish. And the whole way through the course, my clinical supervisor was also my program lead, and I used to say, well, a couple of times, I think I said a couple of times, like, are you sure I should be on this course? Like, I'm really worried, like, there's been an admin error. And, like, I shouldn't be on that, like this. And then there was a point, I think it was, like, third year, it's a 3-year course. It was, like, even if there was, like, you've got through 2, like, you know, it was kind of that sort of thing. But I then, you know, doing a doctorate, I think, well, I shouldn't really be doing a doctorate. And it's almost
why
like,
not?
well,
why not? Yeah.
Like, I shouldn't be doing it. Like, well, how am I doing this? And, like, people say, I suppose that's one of the things. Like, if I hear somebody say they're doing a PhD, I'm like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
like,
in my head, it's like, wow,
you're so clever.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I'm doing a doctorate.
It's all right. Yeah, I get you. Maybe because of trying to learn to sort of not sort of pick on yourself so much.
Yeah, but it's the same with lots of things. Like, if I heard that somebody else got raped, I was like, oh my god, that's so awful. You okay? Blah, 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 blah. I was like, oh, you got raped. Oh. Well, but like, it's not like it's not to do with the actual the offense or anything like that. That's awful. Nobody should like go through it. Nobody deserves to go through it and stuff. But it's like there's everybody else, and it's like, oh well, so what? Like, who cares? Like, who cares? Kind of thing. Like, it's just you. Like, it happens. Like, get on with it. Like, and
people do care.
Yeah, that's
as
well. That is a nice thing to know. But it's just there's a difference between knowing and accepting, I suppose. Yes. I think I knew I was alcoholic for ages. It was obvious. I knew. I didn't accept it, and I didn't really understand what it meant. And I kind of wanted to be an alcoholic at one point because I was just like, when I was getting away with it, I was like, yeah, let's just keep going. I could just, if I could drink and not work and just, and even though I was ill in hospital and all that stuff, I just didn't care. But I don't think I fully accepted it. So there's a difference between knowing something, knowing that you're loved, and knowing people care about you and accepting it. And I think that's probably what I've learned. I'm learning more and more now, and it's hard to accept it. And I'm trying to accept it, and I suppose that's what I want people to help people with in my work. I suppose is to accept it, and like I suppose as well. Like I want to show up. Like I always want to, if my friends need help with something, if I make an arrangement with them, if it's anything, even if it's a coffee or anything like that, I'll always try and show up because I want to make people aware. I want to make sure that people know that there is somebody that will always show up for them. You know, I'll like their posts, I will share their posts, I'll support whatever I can, because I kind of think, you know, like in a social media thing, maybe it's a big thing, maybe it's not. Depends on people's view. It's not a massive thing for me, but I know it's nice if like close friends have, you know, like something. And it's just one of those things, like I'll, you know, if I say I'm going to do something, I want to do it. If I say that I'm going to meet, you know, we'll go for a coffee or something, I'll do it, you know, unless I really, really can't, and then I'll let them know, apologize, and try and rearrange. But it's just one of these things. And I just don't think I've noticed there are some people that are like that, but not a lot.
Yeah.
And I just don't ever want somebody that I care about, or somebody, or not even that, anybody. I just want to know that if that people aren't on their own, and if they're able, you know, if I can do that somehow, then I will always try my best to do it, because I think the loneliness that I felt in my addiction, and sometimes the loneliness that I feel now, because of the way my brain works, and the way that I don't see or accept like friendship around me, I never want anybody else to experience it. So that's, I think, one of my things that I really want. I don't want anyone to feel like they're on their own.
Yeah.
No matter, you know, who they are, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good thing to be or to have, isn't it? But then also, without putting too much pressure on yourself, I think you need to realise I can't please everybody as well.
Yeah, I think that's where there's stuff that I think over the past 18 months, the pressure was trying to be like literally, you know, for everyone. You know, my dad would be in hospital with like on a brain ward, you know, like a neuro ward, and I was like still trying to help friends with different things and stuff, because I said I would, and I wanted to show up and do that. And you know, my mum, you know, I having to balance like you know, there's a point where neither of my parents are driving. You know, my sister's really supportive and stuff, but I still felt like how do I
juggle it
do
all?
everything? And
you can't. It's impossible.
No, yeah, and I think, you know, and then I get stressed out by things, so I then take more stuff on because I thought, oh yeah, that'll make it better.
Yeah.
So I just don't have the clearest of thoughts, but I'll always want to be there for people, even if I have got a lot on. I will still, you know, especially people that are really close to me, I'll always try and because it's just important. And I think that's the other thing that I get, you know, there's like the level of there's a quote that says my level of my serenity is directly proportion to the level of my expectations. Like if I have high expectations, I used to do things that, you know, I have to kind of think about why I'm doing things as well. Sometimes I get, you know, will be sad or something if somebody, you know, is a kind of thing, or like maybe they would have a thought of something, you know, maybe they would do this or that, or you know, in return. And I shouldn't really think that way. I kind of have to realize that people just don't always think the same way. We don't all think the same way, and what I will do naturally, other people won't. And I think I've learned a bit more now. I'm learning now more about like actions versus words. Like I think lots of people are very quick to say, "Oh yeah, you know, I appreciate all this sort of stuff," in the moment when you're helping them. But I'm kind of trying to learn now more about the people who actually kind of show it. Not necessarily like you don't have to give. Like I was talking to a friend or somebody, and they're like, "How can people show appreciation?" And I was like, "Time. Like
time is a big one.
Like if you're gonna, you know, if you're gonna say that we'll do something, then do it.
Yeah.
If you're gonna, you know, say that you got me, you know, say you got me something or something. Oh yeah, I got you something. Then kind of then give it.
Yeah.
I suppose like don't like you didn't have to, but it's these people. It's people that can often get caught out with these little white lies. Oh yeah, of course I got you something. It's over. It's now it's such a house, or it's all this sort of stuff. It's like just don't. I think when people, you know, lie, you know, well, even if it's small little white lies like that, don't do that. Just tell me, even if you think it's good, just tell me, because it's
just be honest.
It makes it so much worse for me. And I think honesty and time are probably the biggest things that I appreciate from people, and like doing what you say you're gonna do. Like if you're gonna help, then help. And if you can't, if something happens, just say like, if I've made arrangements, I can't do them. I'll just, I'm sorry, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Something's happened, and I'll always try and it's just that sort of, people can make plans and then just, or suggest them for them, and it's like just completely forgotten, and that really gets me. I think it just doesn't take much to think, but then I have to realize that in a way that's the expectation that I have, and I have to drop that, because not everybody. Somebody said it like, one of my friends said, not everybody thinks the same way as you. Not everybody will. Not everybody's. Don't trust. Somebody was like, don't trust people as quickly as you do, because not everybody is the same as you.
It's all true though.
Not everybody will like care and do that. People will just take stuff off you. And go, and it's not like I'm not completely naive. I know, like, I've worked in prisons, I've worked in all different things. I know, but I'd like to think that unless you really, really show, but I always want to kind of see that there is good in people. But apart from if you attack or are horrible to any of my friends, like if you say anything horrible to me, if you're nasty to me, if you treat me badly, whatever, like, I don't care.
You'll forgive it, kind of thing.
Not, I'll, like, it's whatever. But if you're horrible to a friend, if you are nasty, if you don't treat them with respect, if you think, I'm not going to go at you, I'm going to keep my side of the street clean, but I will not ever support you. I would never trust you. I would be like, I will not follow, I won't support, in whatever way. I'm not giving you if you hit one of my close friends, you will not find it easy to get back into my places.
But again, there's nothing wrong with that. Is am I right is it in recovery there's 12 steps? Talk to us a little bit about that, please.
I don't think I could name them all, but it's to do with the first is kind of admitting that you're powerless. And then it's a lot to do with like handing those over. So when you're alcoholism or any addiction, alcoholism, I suppose it's about ego. So although I don't feel like I have an ego in terms of, like I'm like a boast or
big ego,
the ego part of it is that no matter how many times I drank and showed that I couldn't drink, I still thought I was able to drink. So that there was that element of ego, like I had power over alcohol. It didn't, like I'd have a few weeks of like being dry, like being forced to be sober, and then I'd be like, oh no, I can drink, even though, like, the January after I was in hospital over Christmas, the January I was drinking again, thinking like, I can do this. And the same thing happened. It's like the form of insanity, doing the same action over and over again and expecting a different outcome.
Nothing changes it. If nothing changes, does it?
No. And then then it's about, sort of having a higher power, or something that you can hand things over, and saying that I'm powerless over alcohol, and I will, hand it. I'm handing over to somebody else. Like, I'm not in control. And that's another thing, like I'm trying to control. I'll try and control, which is what I've realized now, is that, sometimes by helping people and trying to do all these things, it's like I'm trying to control what's going to happen for them. Whereas that's not, that's their thing, and I can, I need support. And then we do like we look at like we have like a list of, kind of like a list of resentments, and you kind of do an inventory. So who have I you kind of go through your, what's been going on in your life, kind of go through your life and things like that, and maybe what's led you to where you are now. We have to have a list of people that we have, you know, done harm to, make amends. If it's so you make amends to somebody as long as it's not going to harm them. So you know, if you were going to say, if you did something that they didn't know about, and then you like went, oh, by the way, I did this, that's not actually helping them.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So
it's got to be a positive effect.
Yeah. So it's like you know, if you're gonna, you kind of have to weigh up. So I think it's happened with people who've had like affairs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, you know, if you went over to somebody's husband and went, I'm really sorry, you know, I was having an affair with your wife, and they didn't know, you know, like it's then like
the break is heart.
Yeah. So you make amends, and you kind of then kind of trying to like wipe the slate clean of everything, and then you want to kind of then try and maintain that in daily life. So if you do something wrong, then you know, you need to make amends, and you know, so if I, you know, even if it was like, you know, I was you know, sometimes I'll be snappy at work or something, or things like that, and the next day I'll, you know, you kind of think about it, try not to let like and apologize, try not to let resentments build up. So and also hand things over, not trying to control things so much, and it's these sorts of things that I've let slip, and that's why I feel like I'm, you know, kind of feeling the way I am. But the benefit of it is that I've had the opportunities to be able to go and reach out to somebody and start working through it, to be able to make sure that, you know, I can get back on top again. So yeah, the steps are really,
self-development never stops, does it?
Yeah, the steps are really about, you know, admitting that you're powerless, being able to hand over control, try not to control everything, you know, sort of, you know, a day at a time, you know, try not to project too much. Obviously there are things like, you know, so you have to live a day at a time. Someone's like, well, what if I get paid and I just spend all my salary because I'm just living in this day? And it's like, well, there's a point obviously where you can't do that, but you know, you sort of having to just kind of not project, and then handing it over, looking at like kind of like your inventory, or, you know, what you love story, looking at people you've harmed. You then get ready to make amends, and then you sort of leading up to basically trying to you know, carry out these steps in every day of your life. You know, so each day, some people like will make an inventory, you know, like what's gone well, you know, what they're grateful for, like you're grateful, and then your resentments.
Oh, okay, a bit like sort of mindfulness.
Yeah. So it's like a gratitude. So, you know, if you have a gratitude list, I say the grateful alcoholic will never drink. And, you know, sort of what are you grateful for? And then looking at your resentments, and then looking at, you know, so it can be anything. Like you could be annoyed at somebody at work. Well, why am I annoyed at them? You know, what happened? What was my part in it? Do I need to make amends? Or do I need to, you know, sort of meditate or pray or hand over or whatever it is that you do? A lot of people think, you know, that the recovery group, I mean, is religious, because there was a lot to do with handing over and higher powers and stuff. But it's not. It's about, it's really what you want it to be. So my higher power, or my sort of thing at the beginning, because I was so messed up, my, you know, my brain was thinking all over the place. Mine was my family dog. My mum got a dog. She retired. She got a dog in the August, Freddie, and he's a rescue, and he's 2. He's a collie springer, nuts, but absolutely, he's like the bane of my life and the love of my life. Like, he can be such a pain, but I will never, I couldn't love anything more. And he got me through so much of my early sobriety, because I remember one time I was going for like a job interview. I was trying to find like my passport. I was doing that normal thing of being really disorganized, not having all the paperwork. I couldn't find it, and I just went like in my head, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go and have a drink. And he literally just, the door of my bedroom just flung open to the point where it like hit the wall, and there he was, and then he's like, oh, there's trampling all over my paperwork, and I was like, and he was just like, just kind of like and I was just like, oh, okay. And
just good distraction, isn't it?
And it was literally like I was talking about it when I first went through it, like how do you know he's your higher power? And I was like, well, there's him, and there's a box of wine, and I would always go to him, and that was literally that's the only way I could. At that time, it was the only way I could compute in my head.
Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it?
He was my savior. He pretty much saved my life in a way, and he'll never really know. And he's still like, if ever I feel down, if I'm not well or anything like that, I'll go to my mum's.
Yeah,
and I'll just.
That's nice.
I'll just go to him, and sometimes he'll give me what I want, like a cuddle, and a lot of the time he'll just be really annoying and want to treat into like, but I don't care. Like I just like, I love dogs. I love the family dog the most. Like dogs are so good because they don't really want anything. They just want food, fuss, and like a walk. Food, love, and like a walk and exercise, and they give you so much in return. And yeah, but so yeah, the recovery is all about really, kind of getting a clean slate, recognizing that we're not God, dropping the ego, humility, gratitude, and keeping resentments at bay, looking at our part, accepting that, some things are. Yeah, and I think it's mainly about trying to keep out drama, keep our side of the street clean, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, nice. So that's really good. So then, talk to us now then about so you've kind of gone through your steps of recovery. You're now kind of a sober man, individual, and then what was the plan after that? So now you've gone into go into get more degrees and stuff and help others. Tell us a bit about that, please.
So I didn't really I don't suppose I really have a plan when I went into recovery. I just went in, but because of recovery, I was able to. I kind of stumbled, like my career I kind of feel like I've stumbled from one thing to another. So I did my law degree, and then when I was doing that, I was a young person's advisor on a helpline. Then I worked in prisons. Then I did like employment advice, and then I became like a student advisor when I got sober at a local university. And then I was going to I got onto a psychology master's, but then I transferred to integrated counselling and psychotherapy. And then that really connected with me, and I really enjoy it. And I got a lot of support on the course, and I graduated, and because of my connection with the university, I was doing some associate academic work, so kind of like bank work for academic. And then I left the university I was doing that, and then I left my full-time job at the university to do full-time clinical work. And then I got asked to go back, and now I'm a full-time senior lecturer, and I look after two, well, it's going to be one program soon, but I was looking after 4, but now I'm kind of just concentrating on one. I finished my master's, and then I started a doctorate in health and professional doctorate in health and social care, but with my my sort of focus being psychotherapy.
Yeah.
So my master's, I did a research project looking at muscle dysmorphia from an integrative psychotherapeutic viewpoint. So muscle dysmorphia is like the opposite of anorexia, they say, like the easiest way to kind of describe it. So like it's predominantly men in bodybuilders, so they obviously they're going to have a lot of muscles and stuff, but when they look in the mirror, they see themselves as being really small.
Oh, okay.
So it's a subcategory of body dysmorphic disorder, but it's specifically about muscles. So they call it reverse anorexia, where obviously people are very skinny and they think they look larger. Part of my master's research project, there was a lot to do with the categorization of it. Is it an addiction? Is it OCD? Is it body dysmorphic disorder? And I kind of, my research kind of said, well, I don't care in a way categorization will kind of help inform treatment plans, but there was nothing really happening, and the impact and the numbers of people being impacted by it, or at least some of the main symptoms of it, are increasing, and the age of people it is, you know, the starting off is younger. So my doctorate is focused on what I want to do is develop a compassion focused intervention to help prevent or reduce the risk of it developing in male bodybuilders. So not it's not like a clinical it's not like a clinical trial. It's so in terms of compassion, it's going to be using the principles of compassion focused therapy and compassionate mind training, and then adapting that to fit into something that could be accepted or engaged with by male bodybuilders, male gym goers, in order to help them support them and reduce the risk of them developing muscle dysmorphia, which has the highest number is in bodybuilders, because obviously that's a lot to do with what their focus is. So yeah, I'm sort of halfway through it. I'm at the point where it's going to sort of go into more sort of reaching out. I've done a lot of sort of the research, reading articles, and just doing a literature review at the moment. And then hopefully today I'm submitting a application to be an accreditation application to be accredited by the National Counselling and Psychotherapy Society.
Oh, nice.
So hopefully that will do well. And I also do clinical supervision. So I provide clinical supervision for other therapists.
Yeah.
So I kind of just want to
help people by the sounds of it.
Yeah, help people in different ways. But it's kind of, I'm a bit of a magpie with things. So if I see something, then I'll want to help, you know, like, I'll be interested in it, but I have to close that down. So what I'm trying to do is just close down what I'm doing again, because I was doing, you know, like my main, you know, with my focus of private practice and things like that, and, you know, just kind of keeping things manageable. And what I'd like to do as well is try and like get more focus on myself, like my physical health, and you know, kind of getting a bit, you know, more in shape and things like that. And I think my focus is now trying to get more balance, and not to take on too many things at the same time. But it's hard, because no matter how much I do, I always feel like I'm lazy, which is another annoyance.
I'm just like that though. I can get into bed at night time and I feel like I'm dissatisfied with my day. I think I should have done this and I should have done this and I haven't done this. Why didn't I do this?
Yeah.
And I should have worked out more and I should have done more of this work. But yeah, sometimes it's to also understand that I'm not perfect to make mistakes as well.
Yeah. Well, like a friend of mine was looking at my diary for the week and she was like, "This makes me anxious," and I was like, and she was like, I was like, "But it's not like," I'd be like, "Well, I'll do this. And some of my friends tease me about it, like, how many jobs have you got? How many degrees are you doing at the moment? It's like, I'm just doing, and I'll say like I'm just doing one, and they say, "Well, I'm just doing one," but I just kind of don't, you know, it's just my poor phrasing sometimes. But I was doing two at the same time. But you know, that
is really impressive and a lot of work.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I suppose.
This is where you take it in. It is a lot of work. Yeah. For me to even do 1 degree is absolutely crazy.
But I'm still doing one, and then the other one was a shorter one. So
yeah.
But yeah, I'm really lucky with my job. I think I'm quite lucky that I get to learn, I get to read and stuff like that, and I get to work and, you know, deliver things, you know, lectures and stuff, and engage with people, and you know, then support clients, support my supervisees, and stuff like that. So I'm very lucky. to be where I am with what I do. And I need to kind of remember that. I remember it was on my birthday. It was on a birthday. I think it was like my first sober belly button birthday. So we have like recovery birthdays, sobriety birthdays were on the day that you got sobriety, and then your belly button where you obviously were born, and then it's where your umbilical cord on. So it's the belly button birthday. I say that a lot. I said it to a friend, and they went, I was like, "Oh, when's your belly button birthday?" And they were like, and they're not in recovery, so they were just like.
As soon as you said it, I thought to myself, I need to ask what that is.
I was like, yeah, I just I just say things, and then it was my belly button birthday, and I went into this. It was like very early. I don't think I've done a year.
Yeah,
I would have been around just over 6 months, and I went into one of the employment agencies, like temp agencies that I'd been in before. But obviously when I'd been drinking and stuff like that, and they're sort of discussing and signing me up again.
Yeah.
And I think obviously they were a bit like, yeah. And the woman I was talking to was really nice, and then the manager, this manager came, and she literally was an absolute unpleasant person.
Yeah, an arsehole.
Yeah, she was an absolute arsehole. She said I was absolute, like, she just went in on me. She said I was completely unemployable.
Oh wow.
And I was like, right, okay. I was just unemployable. And I have to kind of remember that I'm so lucky that, I've got a full-time job, I've got a private practice, I've got, I'm studying, and, 12 years ago, whatever, I was completely unemployable. Whereas, like, now I'm, I'm trusted, and, I turn up and people can rely on me. And I think that's important. I want people to know that if they ask me to do something, if I say, then they can rely on me, because so many people are like, oh yeah, that sort of stuff. Or, you have people that are like, oh yeah, let's do this, and then not, or, constantly like cancel and stuff like that. And I just want to know, that they know that I will be there and show up. It's like some friends got a house and they were gutting it and, sort of doing it up, and they got young kids and stuff like that. It was really important they were doing. People were like, yeah, I'm gonna help. I'll come around and help and whatever. And like, one of the wife said like nobody was, and like the husband was kind of doing a lot of it on his own. So I used to go when I could. But I have no DIY. I would do wallpaper scraping, sweep up. He'd literally give me like the simplest jobs, because it was easiest. But I'd always take coffee. Take coffee and snacks, because I want to be like, even if I'm shit, I just want to know that somebody is gonna show up for you. Somebody will be there, and I just wanted to make sure that, like, I could do. I couldn't do a lot. I'd always try. Yeah, I suppose that's the important thing. Just try. But
but things like that, it's kind of like the proof is in the pudding, isn't it? If Rob says he's going to do something, he's going to do it, and then the pattern sort of comes, because actually last time Rob said he's going to do something, he come and done this for me.
Yeah,
he come and help me scrape the paint off the wall. He kind of helped me sweep the floors or whatever it was. So then people sort of know then, because of previous experiences.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
The funny, one of this just made me think. So it's like I kind of look back at it. It is a funny thing, but it's also like, it's kind of nice in the way that, in what you were just saying. So it's such a silly thing. So the university is literally there. It's like 5 minutes away. I can walk. And when I was working as a student advisor, we got a new manager come in, a really nice, really, really nice manager. And like, it was the first week. On the Thursday, I went out to the theatre with some former old colleagues at the university, and you know, I'm sober at this time and everything like that.
Yeah.
We've gone out and not had a drink. It was a bit of a late night, and then obviously the next day I was in work, and I get this phone call. I'm in bed. I get this phone call. It was like one of like somebody from work, and I was like, "Hello." And they were like, "Hi, Robbie, you alright?" And I was like, "Yeah, you." And they're like, "Yeah, do you know what time it is?" No. And I looked, and I was like about an hour or so late for work.
Oh,
and I went, "Oh my god!" And I literally jumped in the shower, and I was probably in work within like less than half, like probably 20 minutes. Or
yeah.
And everyone, you know, I was like small team, and they were like joking. They were like, "Oh, look at him," and I was so distracted all day because I could not work out how it happened.
Yeah.
And I spoke to my new manager, like I spoke to her like one to one. So I'm so sorry. Like, I do not understand what she said. She said, "Are you?" No. See, she came in. She said, "You're right." And I said, "I'm really." And she's like, "Don't worry." She said, "When people were realizing you weren't here," she said, people were saying, "Where's Rob?"
Yeah.
And there was concern, like, where's Rob? He would be here.
Yeah.
She said, and that made me realize that this isn't an issue. Like, it's not an issue for me. I'm not concerned about this because this is just, it happens.
Yeah.
And she said, if it was like, "Oh yeah, Rob's always late," that would be an issue.
Yeah.
And I said, but the thing is, I can't work out how it's happened. I was like, I can't get any work done because I can't work out. And even now, I'll probably think about it for about half an hour today, being like, how did that happen?
Do you reckon your body just needed that rest and that time?
I don't know, but it's more to do with like the alarm. Like, you know, when it really that will bug me more than the being late. I'll be like, how? Yeah, just now I'm like, how did it happen? How has it happened? But that, you know, that was like a nice thing. And I don't work so much in an office anymore. I work from home and different things. And, you know, it was, you know, thinking back to the time working, you know, with a team and things like that, that was really nice. And, you know, and that kind of built up, you know, that confidence and that being able to, you know, have people getting to know me and I suppose like me and be able to rely on me and things like that. And yeah, there were lots of many times so I was just thinking about the same manager. I had an operation, like a small operation on a Sunday. I had like a thing on my leg and like they took me in on the Sunday. I went in on Sunday morning, they operated. Like, it all happened over this one weekend. And I had to have like go to the nurse every other day. It was really annoying.
Yeah.
I said to my manager, the same manager, I was like, "I'm really sorry, I've got to go out everybody." I said, "I'm trying to get them around work." And she was like, "Why are you doing that?" I was like, "Because I had an operation yesterday."
Yeah.
And she like, and they freaked out. She freaked out. She was like, "Why are you on work?" And I was like, "Because I'm in work."
Yeah.
It's work.
I'm supposed to be here.
I'm supposed to be here. I'm fine. Like, it's nothing. I'm fine. Like, is the thing that I say, "Oh, I'm okay."
Well, that's good. That's good. But then again, by your manager's reaction, kind of shows you've already invested, haven't you, in her and them.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like what I'd call the emotional bank account.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've already invested plenty to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's allowed and you're human.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it's interesting the way you talk about bank account. Talk about it a lot in recovery. So, like, you know, going to meetings and stuff, it's like money in the bank.
Yeah.
So that when you know, even if you don't feel like you know, if you're in a really good place, there are other people that aren't, you know, you being there was going to help them. But whatever you hear, it's all money in the bank ready for when, you know, for you.
Yeah.
On those bad, you know, on those bad days when you need it. Yeah.
Or withdrawals.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a nice way of thinking about it with that emotional bank.
Yeah. One of the courses I deliver, that's what I talk about. Sort of say investing in people and each other. Whereas, let's say we work together for 2-3 years, and you made me hot chocolates every day, and I've done this for you, whatever it was. And then if I come in one day and sort of shouted at you or snappy, actually we can get past that because we've already invested enough in each other.
Yeah.
To sort of, because I've had one bad day or one bad morning.
Yeah, and also learning that behaviour as well, or knowing that about somebody, is that you can be like, well, that's not them. Like, what's
to
know?
Absolutely. Right, Ed. What's been the best advice you've been given?
Probably the best thing it's probably not one for everyone, but if I don't have the first drink, I can't get drunk.
Yeah.
It's probably the best one.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, okay.
For me, but I'm not sure if it's a general one. But I think like things like "this too shall pass" is probably the best.
Yeah, I like that. I heard Tom Hanks. Was it Tom Hanks? Yeah, he's done something like, I think they call it the round table or something, and he's talking about just difficult times, and so it says if you have the mentality of "this too shall pass,"
he
said everything's going to get better eventually. I like that. What would you give us some advice for young people or anyone struggling, please? These are more like a sort of I call them quick. They're not quite quick fire questions, but they're more just like, I'll just chuck a few questions at you to finish up, or before we finish.
I'd probably say for young people, kind of don't worry too much about what other people think. The world's really big, and sometimes we forget that. Step out of your comfort zone and see other elements of the world. It doesn't have to be a big thing. I once went to a board game convention with some friends. I don't like board games, but it was an amazing experience because I was like, this is a whole different, this all exists.
Yeah, and it's a new experience.
Like, this exists. So if somebody invites you to something that's maybe a bit different, like a convention or whatever, that if they have a hobby and you're not into it, go and just see what it's like. Because I thought, well, why, sometimes I'm stressing about these things, but there's like people here that make a living out of just designing board games.
Yeah.
Like,
wow, it's crazy, isn't it?
It's a big world.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a big world. Some people make board games. What a massive world we live in.
What is your greatest achievement?
Probably
You're doing that again, didn't you?
I don't know.
You kind of went, I said to you, what was your greatest achievement? And you kind of went, I just sort of say, whatever achievement that you've done, isn't that impressive?
I think hand on heart, probably my sobriety has to be my biggest achievement, because
I love that.
I can't stick with a lot of things. My head is all over the place.
Yeah.
So it's remarkable that I managed to do something consistently for 12 and a half months, probably, if I want to be like a, when you're 8 or something, like 8 and a half. But yeah, 12 years.
12 years,
yeah. So yeah, and without it, I wouldn't have anything else, I suppose.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's so impressive. We've kind of, between the two of us, have quite a few of these today. But what would you do? You have a favourite quote or saying?
Ooh. I think I have to say "this too shall pass." I know I said it a lot.
Yeah.
But you know what? One thing I did used to like. Do you remember Mary Poppins?
Yeah.
And if I have a really boring job, I'll always try and think of it. In every job there is to be done, there's an element of fun.
Yeah.
If you find the fun, the job's a game. It doesn't work a lot with when you're doing data entry on an Excel spreadsheet. I'm like,
where's the fun in this?
Yeah, I'm like, come on, Mary, put that out the back for me. But I do like little things like that, like if you try and change the view of how you're doing something, it will change how you're doing it. And
that's it, because I think no matter what it is, if you can find some enjoyment out of it, you're probably going to do a better job, aren't you?
Yeah. Or if you don't like it, then it's like eat the frog for breakfast or something.
Not heard that one.
Something like if you like eating a frog's not nice.
Okay.
Unless you're French.
Yeah.
But like like if you have a list of tasks, do the one that you don't want to do the first.
Oh, okay.
I think it's a different phrase. I'm really bad at mixing stuff up. Like eat.
I'm not too sure.
I don't know, but it's basically.
I'll look at that
one. It might not be that one. I'm really bad at it.
Yeah.
I'll mix them up.
3 fundamentals you live by?
Fundamentals, probably.
Or attributes or principles or
principles, I suppose. Caring about others.
Yeah, that's nice.
I think it's important to laugh.
Yes.
And
because to laugh is just medicine, isn't it?
Yeah, laughter is medicine. And to value people, I suppose.
That's really nice too. So I do this thing where I'll ask every guest to ask a question for the next guest.
Like a serious question.
And not anything you want to ask. Absolutely anything. It could be something serious, could be something humorous, whatever it is, something weird and strange and wonderful, whatever. So for example, the last person asked, if you could go anywhere in the world, where would you go? But then previous guests have asked about superpowers and things like that. So again, it's just all random.
Mine's how many chickens would it take to kill an elephant?
There you go. Yeah.
Okay. I read it once on this one, like you Google random questions.
Yeah.
And it always sticks in my head. If my friend does this thing where ask questions or something on his Instagram, so I'm always like, and he's like, I'm not answering your. You're like, he'll just not answer my questions.
Yeah.
So do I have to answer where do I want to go?
Yes, please.
I don't know if it's a specific place, but I'd like to go to like a nice, quiet beach with like a nice, calm sea.
Yeah.
Where it's not too hot. I'm not going to get burnt, and I could just lie. Well, I would in my head. I think that I would lie and relax and try not to think about anything. But in reality, I'd probably.
You'd be worrying probably about other people, wouldn't you?
Yeah, probably try to access my emails or something like that.
Probably, yeah.
But ideally, I'd like to just go anywhere near the sea. I like the sea.
Yeah, that's nice. Really nice.
There's probably too many places. I think I'd love to go. I know it's not fancy. I'd love to go. Well, it's a bit hard, but like Tokyo, Japan. I just think there's there's so much. Different elements of their culture.
Mm-hmm.
If it was a specific place.
A friend of mine actually, that's one I wanted to live in. It was China for a year, and he said it was just absolutely just mind blowing. It was amazing. Yeah. But would you like to finish up on anything?
Nice. It's been really good. And
yeah, good.
Yeah, it's been nice.
Firstly, can I just sort of say thank you for having me in your lovely home.
Oh, that's okay.
Actually, also, I want to finish up on for you to sort of say you're really inspiring, really brave. Seriously, I think to come from kind of sort of, if I was to quickly evaluate your life in our conversation, to come from sort of childhood, kind of with that sort of maybe confusion or the sort of, I don't know, around your sexuality, and then divorce, then the rape and addiction, then to go and become a therapist is like, again, I think you would have a super sort of power. That is amazing. There's many people in the world that kind of have gone through less and done much less than you. Do you know what I mean? And had more of a shittier life or made bigger mistakes. So kind of give yourself a pat on the back and things like that, mate. Yeah. Seriously, you should. Super brave. Again, I didn't have the best childhood, And then I used to sort of do exactly that, play it down. But actually, sometimes you need to sort of say, do you know what? I'm proud of myself because I've actually done good. I've got excuses to go and do this and go and do that, but instead, I made myself better.
Yeah.
So, Rob, thank you so much.
No, thank you. It's been
a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice one.